Good afternoon. Sorry we're running a little bit late today. We will do a statement from and take some questions. Our Special Envoy for Middle East Peace, former Senator George Mitchell.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll make a brief statement and then I'll be pleased to respond to your questions. The President had direct and constructive meetings with both Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas, and then he held his first trilateral meeting with the two leaders. As the President said, this was an important moment. Let me first give you some brief details. Each of the three meetings was about 40 minutes long. The tone was positive and determined. The President made clear his commitment to moving forward, and the leaders shared their commitment. For the meetings with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas, the President was joined by Secretary Clinton, General Jones, Tom Donilon, and myself. For the trilateral meeting, the President was joined by Secretary Clinton, General Jones, and myself. In their meetings, Prime Minister Netanyahu was joined by Foreign Minister Lieberman, Defense Minister Barak, and National Security Advisor Arad. President Abbas was joined by Secretary General Yasser Abed Rabo, Negotiations Affairs Department Director Saab Arakat, and Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki. This was the first meeting between Israelis and Palestinians at this level in nearly a year. Even 9 months ago, such a meeting did not seem possible. Less than a week before President Obama took office, conflict was raging in Gaza and southern Israel, causing deep suffering on both sides. Today, the atmosphere is different. Both parties share the goal of a two-state solution and of comprehensive peace. And both parties seek the relaunch of negotiations as soon as possible, although there are differences between them on how to proceed. The United States stands with them to help advance toward these objectives. We have made progress on security and economic opportunity in particular, but we have much further to go. As the President said in his public comments, it's past time to talk about starting negotiations. All sides must summon the will to move forward. Permanent status negotiations must begin, and begin soon. This was a message that the President conveyed to each of the leaders in private as well. We're now going to enter into an intensive yet brief period of discussion in an effort to relaunch negotiations. Our aim is clear: to finally succeed in achieving our shared goals and to end the cycle of conflict that has done so much harm. I will be meeting with my Israeli and Palestinian counterparts and with the Arab states as well, and we'll build on the work that was done today to encourage all parties to take responsibility for peace and to act on their commitments. I want to make a brief personal comment. I believe deeply, arising out of my past experience, that just as conflicts are created by human beings, they can be ended by human beings. With patience, determination, and dedication, our aim is to achieve a comprehensive peace in the region that will enable Israelis, Palestinians, and all of the region's people to share a secure, prosperous, and stable future. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. It's a mark of the President's deep personal and ongoing commitment to peace that he chose to participate directly at this juncture. As he said today in his public comments, despite all of the obstacles, despite all of the history, despite all of the mistrust, we have to find a way forward. That's what we will be focused on in the days ahead. Now, I'd like to just read to you a couple of quotes from what the President said in the meetings. I wrote these down. They're either 100% accurate or very close to 100% accurate. He said, it's difficult to disentangle ourselves from history, but we must do so. The only reason to hold public office is to get things done. We all must take risks for peace. Peace between Israel and the Palestinians is critical to Israel's security, and it's necessary for Palestinians to realize their aspirations. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and now I'll be pleased to take your questions, and I'll leave it to Robert to identify the questioners.
Jim.
You said that you were talking about your own respect for the president's willingness to engage in the process at this point. Why did you decide to go ahead with this meeting, even though there's nothing going out and the two sides remain so far apart? Why did you decide to take that step?
Because of his deep personal commitment and his desire to move forward, to convey to the parties his sense of urgency, his impatience, his view that there is here a unique opportunity at this moment in time that may pass if there is further delay. And as I said in my remarks, I think it does demonstrate it's a demonstration of the depth and sincerity of his commitment.
But why is it a moment of opportunity when you're so far apart right now?
I'm sorry, you can't hear her? Yes, she said, why is it a moment of opportunity when they're so far apart right now? First, the reality is that while differences remain between them, we have made very substantial progress. And without being argumentative, I would not characterize their positions as being so far apart right now. Secondly, it is precisely because there are still differences and that we need to move forward that the President elected to hold this meeting for the very purpose of seeking to impress upon the parties the need for urgency and to close these final gaps.
Okay.
As you said, the tone of the President's comments to the press was one of impatience. And I'm just wondering what specifically was said in the talks today that gives the President hope that this can move forward. You've talked about things that have happened in the past that you see as progress, but what happened today? What did they say in the talks that made him feel like this can go forward?
I would not be so presumptuous as to quote the other leaders, but I can tell you my understanding and interpretation of the comments was that they are committed to a comprehensive peace. They both, of course, have previously expressed their support for a two-state solution. They recognize the urgency of moving promptly, and so stated, but they did restate their views and their positions on those issues on which there remain differences. And so I think it will be very helpful for them to have heard from the President the views that I've just identified that he has and has expressed to them, and to recognize that notwithstanding all of the many issues which he confronts, that he is prepared to take the time at this juncture, when there is not an agreement between them to relaunch negotiations, to devote his time, effort, and his, what I think is his deep commitment to get this process going, to move to the next stage.
I know you don't want to quote from them, but can you talk about the tone of the conversations?
The tone was at all times cordial. It was direct, frank. I think it's fair to say at some points one could describe comments as blunt on all sides. These are men who have serious responsibilities. who recognize their responsibilities, and I believe the President impressed upon them, including but not limited to some of the quotations I read out here, that this is a matter of urgency.
This administration has spent the last few months focused intensely on settlement freeze on the part of the Israelis and confidence-building measures on the part of the Palestinians. Now today you're talking about the need to move quickly to permanent status negotiations. Does that mean you've decided that to skip the settlement freeze focus and that it might be easier and quicker to get results if you move straight to final status?